Andrew's Doers! Andrew knows everything. Proudly presents Fortithreerella. It is based on the story of Cinderella. Let's tell you the story, shall we? Once upon a time, there was a young girl named Fortithreerella. Fortithreerella had 10 ugly, mean stepsisters named Farah, Olivia, Ramona, Tanya, Yvonne, Hannah, Rosie, and the twins Erin and Emily. Farah, Olivia, Ramona, Tanya, Yvonne, Tasha, Hannah, Rosie, Erin, and Emily made Fortithreerella do all the chores. Sweep the floors, wash the dishes, do it all, said Farah, Olivia, Ramona, Tanya, Yvonne, Tasha, Hannah, Rosie, Erin, and Emily all together. One day, the king of Tublingham's messenger said, Hear ye, the king of Tublingham's is going to throw a ball, and whoever has the most beautiful gown and crown shall marry his son. Prince Tubling, but Fortithreerella is not welcome. Her stepsisters are. They then argue over who will Prince Tubling marry. Later, Fortithreerella is so sad that she can't go to the ball and marry Prince Tubling. Suddenly, her fairy godmother asks her what's wrong by saying, Why are you crying, Fortithreerella? Fortithreerella responds, I can't go to the ball and marry Prince Tubling. Fortithreerella's fairy godmother said, I can help with a bit of magic, and waved her magic wand. Because of that, Fortithreerella's chores are all done, but her fairy godmother is not done yet. She said, Fortithreerella, go fetch me a pumpkin. Luckily, Fortithreerella has 43 pumpkins. Fortithreerella's fairy godmother waves her magic wand again to turn the Fortithreerella's 43 pumpkins into a handsome coach drawn by 86 strong horses. And then Fortithreerella's brick clothes into a gown and crown. Fortithreerella said, I've never seen such a quadruple-tastic gown. And get a lot of my glass slippers. How can I ever thank you enough? Her fairy godmother said, Well, you can't. But have fun, Fortithreerella. But I would warn you. Return home before midnight, or the spell will be broken, and everything will change back to the way it was before. Fortithreerella accepted the warning. Meanwhile, at the ball, Prince Tubling was wondering who he should marry. Farah, Olivia, Ramona, Tanya, Yvonne, Tasha, Hannah, Rosie, Erin, Emily all say together, He's walking towards me! But he's not walking towards any of them. He's walking towards Fortithreerella. Prince Tubling then said, May I have this dance? Fortithreerella responds, I would be delighted. Prince Tubling and Fortithreerella dance happily together. But later, Fortithreerella realizes it's almost midnight, so she scurried out of the ball, and she was running so fast that she lost one of her glass slippers. Prince Tubling was so worried that he might never see Fortithreerella again, so he traveled all around on a trade door Quadranham to find her and brought the glass slipper with him. By the time he arrives, he knocks on the door of the house where Fortithreerella and her stepsisters lived. But instead of Fortithreerella, Prince Trey Quadrigen Topling finds her stepsisters. He then said, "Ladies, I have a favor to ask. Can any of you try on this glass slipper?" Farah was first, but her foot is too big. Olivia's next, but her foot is too small. The rest did the same, but none of the feet were the right size. Suddenly, Prince Trey Quadrigen Topling notices Fortithreerella singing. Fortithreerella gets so excited because she's happy to have Prince Trey Quadrigen Topling back. And Prince Trey Quadrigen Topling doesn't have to put the glass slipper back on her foot because it's so uncomfortable. Prince Trey Quadrigen Topling and Fortithreerella then danced happily ever after. The end. And just viewers, if you want to see some sequels, something like that, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share on Andrew Does Everything. And buy our merchandise. Take care. Bye. And now, Andrew Does Everything proudly presents Fortithreerella 2, 43 Wishes Come True. A sequel to Fortithreerella, based on the story of Cinderella. Let's tell you the story, shall we, Andrew Doers? Once upon two times, Prince Trey Quadrigen Topling and Fortithreerella were happily married. But Farah, Olivia, Ramona, Tanya, Yvonne, Tasha, Hannah, Rosie, Erin, and Emily have lots of tricks up their sleeves. Several weeks later, Fortithreerella is pregnant but sick. Fortithreerella's fairy godmother knows a spell that can cure her. Not a minute too soon. Fortithreerella is cured, and it was twin boys. Fortithreerella and Prince Trey Quadrigen Topling named them Odie and Teddy to celebrate their birth, a flying lantern. A few years later is the day of Odie and Teddy's very first day of preschool. Their teacher, Mrs. Primes, says, "Hello, Odie and Teddy. I'm Mrs. Primes, and I'll be your teacher this year." But before she could tour, Farah, Olivia, Ramona, Tanya, Yvonne, Tasha, Hannah, Rosie, Erin, and Emily kidnap her. Odie and Teddy try to save her, but it starts to rain. "We need to seek shelter," said Odie. Teddy said, "Odie, over there! A cave!" Odie and Teddy go into the cave to get out of the rain. Farah, Olivia, Ramona, Tanya, Yvonne, Tasha, Hannah, Rosie, and Emily then throw Mrs. Price into the cave due to the rain. But they find a canyon in the cave. Mrs. Primes whimpers, "Mommy!" as she falls into the canyon. Odie and Teddy try to save her, but she's too deep underground. To make matters worse, a ledge breaks and that causes Odie and Teddy to fall. "Have a nice trip," said Farah, Olivia, Ramona, Tanya, Yvonne, Tasha, Hannah, Rosie, Erin, and Emily all together. Luckily, Fortithreerella's fairy godmother flies to help. Odie and Teddy grab onto a branch with Mrs. Price on the toe. Fortithreerella's fairy godmother cast a spell to form a cushion to save them. And Mrs. Price said, "Odie and Teddy, congratulations. Not only do you get A's for class, but also A's for saving me. And best of all, this present is for being so respectful. It grants 43 wishes." And they all lived happily ever after. The end. And Andrew's Doers, if you want to see Fortithreerella 3, maybe someday, Maybe this can be a big tradition. Take care. Bye. And now Andrew's Doers. Andrew Does Everything proudly presents Fortithreerella 3. Trey Quadrigen Tuple Love and Glee. A second sequel to Fortithreerella based on the story of Cinderella. With a bit of a twist. Let's tell you the story, shall we? Once upon 3 times, Prince Trey, Quadrigen Tumbling, and Fortithreerella really loved each other. Well, that's about to change. Thanks to Farah, Olivia, Ramona, Tanya, Yvonne, Tasha, Hannah, Rosie, Aaron, and Emily, who are making a 43 False Friends breakup potion, the most evil magic potion known to Trey, Quadrigen, Tumblingham. They sneak up behind a fence, but Fortithreerella's fairy godmother tries to stop them, but they lock her up, steal her magic wand, and then splash the potion on Prince Trey, Quadrigen, Tumbling, and Fortithreerella, who are now breaking up. Odie and Teddy ask, is there anything we can do to reverse the potion? Fortithreerella's fairy godmother explains that there's only one thing to reverse. The 43 False Friends breakup potion. The Trey, Quadrigen, Tuple Back Together potion. It needs ingredients: 43,000-year-old acorns, 86 spoonfuls of dragon drool, 119 cups of cilantro, and the most important ingredient of all, 172 huge doses of love. Teddy said, you know, I think I saw a 1,000-year-old acorn tree. Luckily, just like the recipe, the tree has 43,000-year-old acorns, but a dragon approaches them and spits out 86 spoonfuls of dragon drool just before breathing fire. Later, Odie and Teddy got everything they need to make the Trey, Quadrigen, Tuple Back Together potion. And just in time, Prince Trey, Quadrigen, Tumbling, and Fortithreerella are back together, and Fortithreerella's fairy godmother got her magic wand back. And they all lived happily ever after. The end. Andrew's Doers, I hope you enjoyed this story. And if you want to see some more sequels, and tell your friends about it. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share on Andrew Does Everything. Buy our merchandise on andrewdoeseverything.com. Take care. Bye. And now Andrew's Doers. Andrew Does Everything proudly presents Fortithreerella 4. Puzzles galore, and the first digit is 4. A third sequel to Fortithreerella based on the story of Cinderella, with a bit of a twist. Let's tell you the story, shall we? Once upon 4 times, Odie and Teddy promised Fortithreerella and Prince Trey, Quadrigen, Tumbling to be good while they're gone. They then used their first wish of their 43 wishes in their magical present from Mrs. Primes to conjure up lunch, do chores and everything for the Fortithreerella and Prince Trey, Quadrigen, Tumbling before they arrive home. We wish everything is ready before our parents arrive, said Odie and Teddy. But Farah, Olivia, Ramona, Tanya, Yvonne, Tasha, Hannah, Rosie, Aaron, and Emily have lots of tricks up their sleeves. But Odie and Teddy used their second wish to trap them in a bubble by saying, we wish our evil step-ants would not stop us. Farah, Olivia, Ramona, Tanya, Yvonne, Tasha, Hannah, Rosie, Aaron, and Emily get drifted away. But Odie and Teddy get drifted away as well to the magical land of Puzzlonia. Odie said, Teddy, of a feeling we're not in Trey Quadric Cumlingham anymore. Teddy agrees and says, yeah, Odie, what is this place? A Puzzlonian says, welcome to Puzzlonia, people. Do you have any questions? Odie and Teddy said, yes. We love this place, but can you get us back onto Trey Quadric and Cumlingham? The Puzzlonian says, Trey Quadric and Cumlingham? That sounds like an interesting and boring place. For Olivia, Ramona, Tanya, Yvonne, Tasha, Hannah, Rosie, Erin, and Emily say, boring? That's ridiculous altogether. This gives the Puzzlonian a shock and says, what? He then tells the other Puzzlonians about Farah, Olivia, Ramona, Tanya, Yvonne, Tasha, Hare, Rosie, and Emily being rude to Puzzlonia by saying, everybody rude visitors are in our home, Puzzlonia. The Puzzlonians attack Odie and Teddy and Fortithreerella's ugly, mean, wicked stepsisters. Odie and Teddy yell, stop! To try to tell them that it didn't mean any harm. But the Puzzlonians refuse to listen. They then capture them, except Erin and Emily. Do you think we were too hard on 43 wench? I mean, 43rella though? Asks Erin. Yes, twin sis, I think so. Says Emily. Meanwhile, back at Trey Quadric and Cumlingham, 43rella and Prince Trey Quadric and Cumling are at the Trey Quadric and Cumlingham market, buying a present for Odie and Teddy for being so responsible. I can't wait for Odie's and Teddy's chores to be done, said 43rella. Erin and Emily find an airport with a plane with 2 seats. They climb into the plane and fly way up into the sky. They made it to Trey Quadric and Cumlingham, but Erin's and Emily's fear of heights prevented them from flying back down. Even worse, there's no landing strip near Trey Quadric and Cumlingham Town Square. How are we gonna land? Asks Emily anxiously. And says, I don't know. 43rella and Prince Trey Quadric and Cumlingham see them in trouble. They rush to help them, but they can't fly. Luckily, 43rella's fairy godmother knows somebody who can help. She whistles to call her pet winged horses. They then soar up to save Erin and Emily. 43rella says, Erin and Emily will save you, but only if you promise not to be ugly, mean, and wicked ever again. And so, Erin and Emily reformed. Meanwhile, Odie, Teddy, and the rest of the 43rella's ugly, mean, and wicked stepsisters are in the Puzzlonian's dungeon. To open the cage door, you need to know the puzzle on the lock. 4 times 3 plus x equals 19. They solve by multiplying 4 times 3, which equals 12, and then take away 12 from both sides. X equals 7. Odie and Teddy are free, but Farah, Olivia, Ramona, Tanya, Yvonne, Tasha, Hannah, and Rosie are not. Later, Odie and Teddy then arrive home. Erin and Emily say, thank you, 43rella, and just in time. 43rella and Prince Trey Quadric and Cumlingham have their present for Odie and Teddy, cookies! And then they all lived happily ever after, even Erin and Emily. The end. Andrew's Doers, I hope you enjoyed this story. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share on Andrew Does Everything. and buy our merchandise at andrewdoeseverything.com. Take care! Andrew's Doers, bye! And now, Andrew Does Everything proudly presents Fortithreerella 5! A Trey Quadrant and Topple Dance Jive. A fourth sequel to Fortithreerella. It is based on the story of Cinderella, with a bit of a twist. Let's tell you the story, shall we? Once upon 5 times, Odie and Teddy are practicing for her school's very first dance show, and are pretty good with Erin and Emily, who are now good stepsisters and not ugly, mean, and wicked anymore. And their dance teachers, Farah, Olivia, Ramona, Tanya, Yvonne, Tasha, Hannah, and Rosie, are not very happy about their 2 younger sisters reforming, Erin and Emily reforming. And they still have lots of tricks up their sleeves. Their plan is to drop banana peels on the floor, but that didn't work. Their plan B, spill soap, but it didn't work either. Their plan C, freeze the dance floor, but Odie and Teddy say, we wish our shoes would turn into ice skates and their magical necklaces turn their dance shoes into ice skates. The king of Trade Quadrant in Tumblingham arrives and says, excuse me, Farah, Olivia, Ramona, Tanya, Yvonne, Tasha, Hannah, and Rosie, are you guys responsible? In which Farah, Olivia, Ramona, Tanya, Yvonne, Tasha, Hannah respond nervously, no. Because of that, the king of Trade Quadrant Tumblingham angrily locks them in the castle's dungeon. Meanwhile, at the Trade Quadrant Tumblingham market, Fortithreerella and Prince Trade Quadrant Tumbling can't wait to see Odie and Teddy dance while buying food for dinner. Do you think Odie and Teddy will be good? Asks Prince Trade Quadrant Tumbling, in which Fortithreerella responds, yes, I guess. Later. It's the night of Odie's and Teddy's dance show. Mrs. Primes, the teacher, says, good evening, everybody. I hope you enjoyed our show. The king of Trade Quadrant Tumblingham, Fortithreerella, and Prince Trade Quadrant Tumbling watch Odie, Teddy, Erin, and Emily dance. And after the show, they had dinner and lived happily ever after. The end. Andrew's Doers, I bet this was a fun story, wasn't it? And if you want to see some sequels, I've been beating on making them a bit of a tradition. So, if you want to see more, tell your friends about it. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share on Andrew Does Everything. And buy our merchandise at andrewdoeseverything.com. Take care. Bye. And now, Andrew Does Everything proudly presents Fortithreerella 6, a Magic 43 Fix. A 5th sequel to Fortithreerella, based on the story of Cinderella, with a bit of a twist. Let's tell you the story, shall we, Andrew's Doers? Once upon 6 times, Fortithreerella and Prince Trade Quadrant Tumbling are pregnant again, while Odie and Teddy are cleaning their family home, along with Erin and Emily, who are now good stepsisters and not ugly, mean, and wicked anymore. But Erin's and Emily's older sisters, Farah, Olivia, Ramona, Tanya, Yvonne, Tasha, Hannah, and Rosie, remain ugly, mean, and wicked, and still have lots of tricks up their sleeves. Suddenly, Fortithreerella's fairy godmother's crash lands and drops her magic wand that causes it to go haywire. It hits Rosie and turns her into a Rosie, as in flower, What do we do now? Asked Odie and Teddy. Fortithreerella's fairy godmother explains by saying to turn a rose back into human, you must get water from Quadatrita Lake and use it to water the rose. Quadatrita Lake is on the other side of Mount Fortithreerus. How do we get there? Asked Aaron and Emily. Fortithreerella's fairy godmother knows someone who can help. Her pet winged horses Twinkle, Sprinkle, Sparkle, and Sprocket. She whistles to call them. No! No! And they give them a ride. And not a minute too soon, they have the water. Later, back at their family home, they water Rosie, and she turns back into a human. I'm sorry, I was being ugly, mean, and wicked. I guess the twins, Aaron and Emily, are right, said Rosie, and Fortithreerella's fairy godmother, mother's magic wand is fixed. This makes Farah, Olivia, Ramona, Tanya, Yvonne, Tasha, and Hannah upset. And just in time, Fortithreerella and Prince Draco and Tumbling are back home with a baby girl, Odie and Teddy's new younger sister named Tilly. And they all lived happily ever after. The end. I hope you enjoyed this story, Andrews Doers. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share on Internet Everything. And buy our merchandise at interknowseverything.com. Take care. Bye. And now, Internet Everything proudly presents Fortithreerella 2, 43 Wishes Come True. A sequel to Fortithreerella, based on the story of Cinderella. Let's tell you the story, shall we, Andrews Doers? Once upon two times, Prince Trey Quadrigen Toppling and Fortithreerella were happily married. But Farah, Olivia, Ramona, Tanya, Yvonne, Tasha, Hannah, Rosie, Aaron, and Emily have lots of tricks up their sleeves. Several weeks later, Fortithreerella is pregnant but sick. Fortithreerella's fairy godmother knows a spell that can cure her. Not a minute too soon. Fortithreerella is cured, and it was twin boys. Fortithreerella and Prince Quadrigen Toppling named them Odie and Teddy to celebrate their birth, a flying lantern. A few years later is the day of Odie and Teddy's very first day of preschool. Their teacher, Mrs. Primes, says, "Hello, Odie and Teddy. I'm Mrs. Primes, and I'll be your teacher this year." But before she could tour, Farah, Olivia, Ramona, Tanya, Yvonne, Tasha, Hannah, Rosie, Aaron, and Emily kidnap her. Odie and Teddy try to save her, but it starts to rain. "We need to seek shelter," said Odie. Teddy said, "Odie, over there! A cave!" Odie and Teddy go into the cave to get out of the rain. Farah, Olivia, Ramona, Tanya, Yvonne, Tasha, Hannah, Rosie, and Emily then throw Mrs. Price into the cave to do the rain. But they find a canyon in the cave. Mrs. Primes whimpers, "Mommy!" as she falls into the canyon. Odie and Teddy try to save her, but she's too deep underground. To make matters worse, a ledge breaks, and that causes Odie and Teddy to fall. "Have a nice trip," said Farah, Olivia, Ramona, Tanya, Yvonne, Tasha, Hannah, Rosie, Aaron, and Emily all together. Luckily, Fortithreerella's Fairy Godmother flies to help. Odie and Teddy grab onto a branch with Mrs. Price on the toe. Fortitherella's fairy godmother cast a spell to form a cushion to save them. And Mrs. Price said, Odie and Teddy, congratulations. Not only do you get A's for class, but also A's for saving me. And best of all, this present is for being so respectful. It grants 43 wishes. And they all lived happily ever after. The end. And Andrew's Doers, if you want to see Fortithreerella 3, maybe someday, maybe this can be a big tradition. Take care. Bye.